And hello, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us. We're continuing with a series of shows coming up before March Town Meeting Day, coming up on Tuesday, March 2nd, and a lot of activity in Swanton. 5-member select board, and 4 of the seats are up, and there are 4 contests, and we're very happy to have 2 of the candidates with us. 2 candidates running for a 3-year term. Earl Fournier. Earl, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Richard.
And Phillip Morris. 2 candidates again running for a 3-year term. Earl, you're no stranger to the Board of Selectmen. I guess a former selectman back when it was a 3-member board, I guess a few years back.
Yes, it was a few years ago.
So why tell us, give us a little background. Of course, former longtime MVU board member. Give us a little background, and why are you trying to jump back into the fray?
Well, for one thing, I don't have the cows anymore, so I have a little bit more free time, actually a lot more free time, and I feel that I have something to offer, and I would, and Swanton has been my home. I'm very proud to be a Swanton resident, and you know, I'd like to see Swanton continue to move forward. It's made a lot of progress over the years, and I also think this is a time of opportunity. Going forward, I know this pandemic's been hard on everybody and it's cost a lot of money, but there are different ways that we can use this to our advantage, you know, and there's going to be different programs out there. I think the governor, you know, is trying to set a good direction for towns out and communities outside of Chittenden County, and you know, it's something that we should be taking advantage of, and we should decide as a community what is going to be in our best interest, and you know, seize the opportunity.
Flip, fair to call you a political newcomer, or is that not accurate?
Oh, I'm a newcomer.
Yeah.
It's the first time ever.
Hey, good for you. How'd you happen to run for the select board?
Well, I thought about it for years,
Really?
and I finally decided I was going to do it. Swanton needs to have a lot of changes, I think. You take, in the village especially, they have one restaurant. You want to go out on a Friday night and eat, you might hit it and you might miss it. Either they're open or they're closed. They close early on Saturdays. I figured the town had one on Spring Street, which is closed. I think the town could help people get a restaurant going. Your ATVs, they have no place to ride. I feel that they should open up the town roads
For ATVs?
for ATV.
Interesting.
Newport did it, and they said it's a big success up there.
On that subject, Earl, your thoughts on that? What do you think about that?
Well, you know, certainly it's a recreational activity that a lot of people enjoy, even in Swanton. You know, and I'd certainly be open to proposals.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I would support opening all the town roads right now, that's for sure, but I'd be open-minded about proposals that people brought forward.
Interesting. Flip, give us a little background on yourself, work history. What have you been doing for these years?
Well, I was brought up a farmer, just like Earl, and I farmed for many years. I got out of farming, I went construction. And I've been construction truck driver ever since.
Interesting.
And I'm still running equipment today.
Yeah.
I've worked at Hodgson Brothers in Swanton for half my life,
And still working there today?
part-time, yeah.
Really? Well, the pandemic obviously has been a huge issue for the whole country, obviously, coming up to about a year. How, again, realizing you're not on the board as just an observer, how do you think the town government has handled the pandemic? Obviously, a number of people have been hurt. There have been casualties. How do you think the town's dealt with it?
Well, around Swanton,
Yeah.
we dealt pretty good with it.
Yeah.
You know, haven't had a lot of cases. There's a few around. I believe the school, half the kids go to school Mondays and Thursdays. half go Tuesdays and Fridays. And these kids, when they're not in school, they mingle together. And I think the kids should go back to school full time. I really do.
Earl, your thoughts again, former longtime MVU board member, when that's of course been a big issue around here and around the country. What about kids going back to school full time?
Well, as they say, you go by the science. Science says it's not that great of a risk. I do have a daughter that teaches kindergarten at the elementary school in Swanton, and she has a slightly different opinion of that. So, you know, I'm a little bit familiar with both sides, but for the kids' benefit, definitely, the sooner we can get back to school, the better. There's no question about that. You know, and hopefully the vaccine rollout picks up momentum, so that makes it easier for it to happen. But yeah, there's a concern there, and I guess right now, if I had to make a choice, I would say that let's open them up and get them back in school.
Yeah. And again, how do you think Swanton has fared with the pandemic? How do you think town governments reacted to it?
I think the town government's done everything it needed to do. It's certainly protected its employees, and you know, and still did the best they could to get business done. You know, I mean, it's been difficult for people to get in and out of the town clerk's office, but they've done everything they can, as far as I'm concerned, because I've had a couple of real estate transactions, to make it as accessible as you can under these conditions. So overall, I think the town government has done a fairly good job of this. I mean, there's only so much a select board can do, but they did what they needed to do, and they did it right off.
You're, of course, out in West Swanton, Earl.
Yeah.
Terrain I know pretty well, logged about 5 years long ago on beautiful Hog Island, West Swanton.
Yeah.
Myself, Route 78.
Yeah.
Tough road. It seems like...
He's from Hog Island, too.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
So both. We have a couple of Hog Islanders here. That's great. Route 78, I mean, boy, well, you folks, again, I had about 5 years. You've been dealing with that forever, kind of, but I guess Agency of Transportation, there have been some plans to make some improvements to it, but based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Again, is that a road? And when I see, every once in a while, I'll see a bicyclist going along that road and just kind of cringe, but any hopes or your thoughts on Route 78, a road you folks know so well?
Missisquoi Bay Bridge
Finally got a new bridge.
was a major issue, and they had a lot of different plans for that. The initial plan was nothing like we have today. There's still a lot of local concerns over the remaining causeways, but, you know, hopefully nature will take its course. 78 is a very important route, and in the condition it is, really isn't right.
And of course, with a ton of truck traffic, as anybody who knows Swanton knows full well.
And there's no really alternative to it. You know, I mean, a lot of this work has been ongoing for 25 years. This is one of the opportunities that I think are out there. You know, if locally we can push, you know, the state, well, they have all this, you know, they need to do this infrastructure work, and they're in a position to do some of this. Now is the time to advocate for our needs. And 78 is a big need. You know, and the McQuam Shore Road too, you know, there are issues there that, you know, somehow, some way, we're going to have to find a way to address that.
And there's been some talk, at least maybe even a study about a possible walking path on McQuam Shore Road. Does that seem feasible to you?
I haven't really looked at the entire document. I will, you know, and I'll go from there. But it's kind of a good area, and I think improvements could be made there for sure, and they need to be made. At some point in time, they're going to have to be made. You know, it's just how do we make it affordable for the community?
Yeah.
And how does the community as a whole benefit from these improvements?
Yeah. Flip, holding out any hope for some improvements to Route 78 anytime soon?
I would hope.
You'd hope.
I tell you, on a day when it's raining, there's 6 to 8 inches of water in the wheel tracks. And you get past what used to be Romy Craig's restaurant,
Yep, that's bad.
and this, what is it, the Refuge owns all that, right?
Yeah, I think refuge after
Why,
that
why
point.
can't they take some of that that's growing up the brush and take that road away from the river a little bit and widen it? You know what I mean? If, there's a lot of improvements that could be done to that 78, because I'm surprised a lot more people don't get hurt on that road.
Area,
Somebody went off the road there yesterday morning.
really. In fact, I should note, for what it's worth, we're taping this show on Thursday, February 11th. And again, the McQuam Shore, again, some talk about the possibility of a rec path along the road. Does that issue mean anything to you? It's, I think, still in its infancy, kind of.
I have nothing, know nothing about it.
Yeah. What about Swanton Village, Swanton Town relations? Do you think they're where they should be? And realizing you're kind of an outside observer at this point.
Swanton Village in the town?
Yeah, the village and the town.
I think they should combine.
In fact, that was a related question. So you'd like to see a merger?
I think they should combine, I really do.
Do you run into people who talk about that issue?
Well, I don't, very few people talk about it,
Yeah.
I guess. But I could never figure out why they don't combine. They're, it'd make more sense, more feasible, money-wise, everything.
Earl, your thoughts? What about especially when I interview Swanton Village folks, the village people, I'll mention that issue once in a while, and they'll tell me, Richard, you're the only one who ever asked us about that. But is that more of an issue than some people might think?
It's been an issue that's been looked at in the town, and the town and village I've looked at before.
When you were on the select board before, did that issue come up before you folks?
Yes, there was discussion about that, and I think there's always going to be, or there will be continuing discussions on that, for sure. Overall, if, everything was done right, I believe there would be a benefit to Swan to combine them.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with the players that are in place. And we may have to look at it more seriously here in the future, because it would probably be an overall benefit to Swan to do that. But it needs the right kind of leadership, and it needs to be an open and transparent discussion. There are money issues there are investments that the village has made, there are things that the town have done. How does this all shake out and be fair to everybody involved?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and I think that's might be part of the reason why it's never been done.
Don't have the warning for town meeting in front of me, but Flip, to the extent you're familiar, obviously the usual budget items, highway, general fund, expenditures for police, fire, anything you have a problem with to the extent you know what the specific requests are?
I haven't really looked into it.
Yeah, in general, do you think the town, are you
believe-
comfortable with how the town spends money? Do you think the town is
I think
reasonably prudent in how it spends money?
Yeah, I believe they've been doing a good job. The roads are good. They're plowing all the time. I mean, in the summertime, they're always working on the roads, they're upgrading. I have no complaints with it. I think they're spending the money wisely.
Yeah.
I hear some woman wants to put speed bumps in on the county road, but I think that's a little bit
Oh, really?
much. I wouldn't vote yes on that one. Because, but
Earl, again, town, what do you think? Town government in terms of spending? And again, with the warning, anything you have any problems with?
No, I think the warning is in the budgets that being proposed, they're within reason. There's not a lot of it, there's nothing in there that I see that's out of line. I don't know if it proposes any real big changes, but at least it maintains the status quo. And the tax rate is reasonable, for sure. we'll just have to see how these things go in the future. I mean, budgets are budgets. There's basic things in there that you have to cover.
Yeah.
And then, as a board, providing leadership in the community, whatever ideas that you want to bring forward have to be part of that budget too. If the community wants to support it, then, we go forward with it. But overall, basically in Swanton and in my experience on the select board prior with other towns, their basic budgets, there's not much in there that you can argue about. You can argue about what they might want to propose, doing this or doing that, but the basic budgets are pretty much done straightforward.
And of course, as municipal officials, I think town officials like to remind voters about on folks' tax bills, about 3/4 is on the school side.
Yeah.
About 1/4 on the municipal side.
If it's not higher.
If it's not higher maybe.
Yeah.
Swanton Village PD's been covering Swanton Town for, I think, a number of years. Do you think they're doing a decent job? Of course, the Franklin County Sheriff's Department will soon be taking over in St. Albans Town for the first time in a number of years. And you think the Swanton Village PD is doing a decent job?
Well, to my knowledge, I've had very few people, or I've had nobody actually say they were doing, and I haven't heard a lot of complaints.
Yeah.
We had one person on our road that thought people were driving too fast. But the village police came down and they put their speedometer thing up there, so people knew what they were traveling. And they could record it so they could see what actually was happening. I think overall they do a good job. And then part of this is going to fall back to town and village. Is this an area, this is one of the areas, I think, if we want police protection guaranteed, that it's certainly going to be a lot cheaper for the town and village to work together than to do it separately. So let's not, I would not want to go down that path.
Yeah.
Franklin County Sheriff, I guess, we'd have to look at proposals if that's going to come before the board.
Yeah. Phillip, what are your thoughts on Swanton Village PD? You think they do a decent job in the town?
The Swanton PD?
Swanton Village PD, of course, covers Swanton Town as well.
Yeah. We see them out and around.
Yeah.
They go by. I see them a couple times a week. State police been going by quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think Swanton PD is doing all right because there's not a lot of kids burning the streets up. I think they've got them where they want them.
Yeah.
As far as St. Albans coming out, I don't know. They patrolled Highgate when I lived up there.
In fact, yes, now they mentioned St. Albans PD still is patrolling Highgate as well at this point.
And they were, I think they were a little choosy.
The art wall was a pretty big controversy in Swanton a while back, and we'll see if that resurfaces. But any thoughts on that? Would you like to see that in presumably a less controversial situation? Any thoughts on the art wall? It certainly was a pretty hot issue for a while.
I didn't really understand you.
What's that?
I didn't really understand what you said.
Oh, sorry. The art wall. Remember all the controversy about the art wall in the town with people putting different artworks on it, and some people were upset about what was put on it. Did you follow that at all?
Yeah. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
You get, no matter what people do, there's going to be others that's not going to like it. I think they should be allowed to paint what they want. And,
With no guidelines.
well, yeah, they have to have some guidelines, but you can't paint a picture of somebody crucifying somebody, but if you want to paint like in front of the fire department, they had nice pictures painted out there, and all of a sudden they stopped. But I think they should have paintings around, but not nasty paintings.
Earl, thoughts on the art wall? Any thoughts?
Well, I do believe that this country is suffering greatly from systemic racism. It's causing us a lot of problems. I kind of felt at that time, and I saw the art, very familiar with it, that it made people think. But, you know, it made me think of, you know, is this really a problem? But someone else might have think it's, you know, over the top. But I believe that if we're ever going to solve this problem, these things have to be seen. And that's just the way I feel. I feel everybody should be treated equally. I do believe that systemic racism is a big problem in this country, all over.
And including locally.
Including locally,
Yeah.
including Vermont. We've seen examples of it here. If we don't have an open discussion about this, if it's not out there for people to think about it, how are we going to change it? So I know it is controversial, and I can understand that, but I think that overall it's something that needs to be addressed. And art like that is bringing out an issue, is not something that is dirty or X-rated or anything like that. It's something for people to make people think about. That's what real art is about. And I think that's what they were trying to do, the people that put them up. And even the one that painted, you know, the other thing on there. I think we should have looked at it and created a discussion instead of stopping it.
Yeah. Flip, anything you want to add to that?
I do feel there is a problem with them with the gay pride flags at the MVU parking lot where you drop kids off and pick them up. I do feel there's a problem with that. I don't feel there's a problem with somebody painting a picture of a cross. I was born and brought up Catholic. I don't feel there's anything wrong with putting up Merry Christmas signs, saying Merry Christmas, painting pictures of Christmas. But some people are awful offended by it. And they feel that you're going against them by doing it. Well, back in our day, there was a God, and still is.
A big an issue that's certainly worth watching. Franklin County State Airport expansion, I guess, looking to have a bigger runway, of course, just over the Swanton line in Highgate. But Swanton's pretty close here. Does that sound like a good initiative, Earl?
Well, that's, you know, when I was talking, I see opportunities out there. Definitely, this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it won't be just for Swan. It's going to be for Franklin County. You know, and if it's done right, it'll be a big benefit. And it's something that I support. I mean, Swanton itself has some land in that area, not very far on the way up there. I mean, its location next to the interstate. You know, it's where that type of development should occur. And hopefully it does bring something to our local economy, some, you know, more high-paying jobs. We need them. And more jobs, hopefully sustainable jobs, you know, that's something that's going to be needed in the future, you know. But I do see it as an opportunity, you know, for this area.
Yeah. Speaking of that neck of the woods, would you like to see, seems like why this wasn't done in the first place is a little maybe puzzling, but a sidewalk from MVU into at least the village limits, that's an issue getting a fair amount of attention at this point?
Yes, definitely. And I know there's been work done on that, and I don't know what the status is right now, but that's something, yes. Yeah, in that area, because that's where it is, and, you know, we ain't gonna have it. It's there. Let's fix it so it works right.
Yeah. Flip, would you like to see a side? Is that a project that makes sense to you?
What's that?
Project from MVU into the village limits, just a sidewalk, and just you know, so kids aren't walking along Route 78.
Yeah, I think they should have them. There's a lot of kids morning that are walking up through there at 7 o'clock. There's a lot of kids that walk home at night, and a lot of them walk to Snowbank, you know. I think they should have a sidewalk up through there for them.
Yeah. And what about the expansion of the Franklin County State Airport? Is that an issue that means much to you? Does that sound like a good way to go?
Yeah. I don't know how big of planes they really want to land in there, you know. If it's going to make shipping stuff easier, instead of landing in Burlington, they could land in Swanton, drop stuff off. Yeah, as long like he said, he thinks it will help, and I think probably depending on what they do with the houses across the road, as far as noise and stuff goes. Because they're going to be taking off, they'll be going right over their houses.
Again, with down to about 5 minutes or so. Again, first-time candidate. I got to think with the pandemic still there, not the easiest time to run for office. Tell us about campaigning. Have you been able to do some campaigning, or is it a pretty difficult situation?
I haven't really been out campaigning. I put a few signs out. I talk to people that I see. It's tough because you can't go knocking on people's door because half of them won't answer the door, you know. I put my name in. I just thought I'd try it.
Yeah. Earl, what about yourself? You've certainly, again, been elected a number of times. A little different campaign this time around?
Yeah, it's a big difference. For one thing, you know, we didn't have to go out and get signatures.
Boy, you just needed to just sign your name,
Right,
pretty much.
just sign your name, and basically you could go right up to the last second, decide what position you wanted. Probably not the best way to do it, but you know, because of the COVID, you know, that's the way they set it up. Getting out the top, I mean, when you do that, if you have to go out and get the signatures, that gives you a really good opportunity to talk to people. It's certainly not going to be a lot of running around the streets, things like that. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, because I know people do watch this show.
Thanks. Appreciate you folks coming on.
Yeah, and you know, I plan on getting a letter out to the messenger probably and a courier here next week, you know, outlining basically a lot of the things I talked about here. And I've lived in the community a long time. Of course, you know, I mean, people know who I am, not bragging or anything, but, you know, so that they pretty much probably got a decision already made one way or the other.
Yeah. Down to just a couple minutes. Any issue you want to quickly talk about that hasn't come up?
I think, you know, that I think the biggest issue probably that we hadn't talked about might be what are we going to do in the future. There's some issues concerning recreation.
Yeah, I guess there's a master plan. I think the rec department is looking to do maybe a master plan.
Yeah. And that's something that will be coming up, and we'll be having a lot of discussions. And, you know, my challenger certainly has brought this up when he talked about ATVs. That's part of overall recreation. I think that's an issue that's going to get more discussion in Swanton.
Yeah. Phillip said the same thing. Any issue that hasn't come up you want to give a short time to?
Oh, the only, like he says, the ATV thing really bugs me. You talk about recreation. These guys, a lot of these guys out here in the town of Swanton have $25,000, $30,000 ATVs, and they got no place to ride them. They have to truck them to New Hampshire, or truck them to Newport, truck them to Bakersfield, Enosburg, where they can ride. I think the town would benefit, even if they charge these guys a fee, a once a year fee. It would be beneficial to the town. It would be revenue. But they would have to be registered with the state. They'd have to be insured. they'd have to be legal. And I think it would help.
And the seconds left. So again, you're offering yourself, voters have a choice. Decided to jump into the race and see what happens.
I just, one day somebody said to me, "Why don't you run for selectman?" I said, "Yep, that's what I'm going to do."
Very good.
And here I am. I didn't go in it to run against Earl.
Earl, you want 10? I'll give you 10 seconds. You want to, again, voters have a choice out there, but you're love to get back on the board again.
I really enjoyed serving on the board when I did it, and if I'd have probably been in a different occupation in a different situation at the time that I got done, I probably would. No, I wouldn't probably. I would have stayed on the board.
Yeah.
Now I have an opportunity to do it again.
Anyway, we'll stop it right there. Thanks to Earl Fournier and Phillip Flip Morris, candidates for a 3-year term on the Swanton Select Board. Really appreciate the time. Thank you very much. Thanks to producer Roger. We'll see you. I'm Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. See ya.